Hello Flosstube, I'm Elizabeth, aka Rainy. Welcome to my channel, Rainy and Stitches. I had planned to record this a couple of weeks ago, well, about the end of April. Life kind of threw me a curveball, so I didn't get it done then. I did tell somebody that I would record this yesterday on Mother's Day, as today is Monday, the 12th of May. But my kids took control of the day yesterday. They had some things planned for me, some surprises and adventures and stuff like that. And so I didn't get to film then, but I am here today to share with you what's been happening with my stitching, what some plans are that I have. And yeah, let's just get started. So the first thing that I have to show you is a finish. It's actually was Well, let me just show it to you and I'll tell you about it, because this is a finish that wasn't even a start. It wasn't even an idea at the time of my last video. So here we have this is something I call Quaker. What did I call it? I called it Quaker Spots and Bands Autumn. So the story behind this starts with the fabric. Um, After my last video, there were a few things I wanted to try, and dyeing linen was one of them. So I had this specific size was a scrap from linen I had cut for a different project. It's some linen 32 count that I purchased at Hobby Lobby 4 or 5 years ago. They don't even carry this size anymore. It is a Zweigart linen. Um, Anyway, I had the scrap. I thought it was perfect to just do a little bit of testing, kind of get an idea of what specific dye colors were going to look like on linen, and then go from there. After I dyed it, I was thrilled. Gray is my favorite neutral. Um, I had this skein of floss. This purple right here is DMC 28. Um, I bought it because I loved it. Didn't know what I was ever going to do with it, but I had in my mind the idea that I would use it for a one color stitch. Um, that's as soon as I had the dyed fabric all dried and I could see exactly what the color was, I knew that I was going to use one of my purples. I do have a couple others as well as a pink, and I did make an Instagram post about it. Let the idea sit for about a day, and then just decided this was the color I wanted to use on this gray fabric. Then it came, what do I stitch on it? I didn't know. I didn't have anything. I went through a bunch of the free charts that I have. I went through um I think I have a couple of other things, just kind of sampler patterns, and I thought maybe I could just do a few different motifs, put some things together from different places, and nothing was really working for me. So the next day, I sat down on Stitch Fiddle and I drafted this pattern, and I started stitching it that night, and I think I completed the stitching in about 10 days. I love it. I'm going to fully finish it with hem stitching, and then I'm not sure if I will display it lying flat. I kind of have the idea in my mind that I want to figure out some kind of a hanging display for it, but that's for future me. The next step me is going to pull out the books and the YouTube and the whatever, because it's been a million years since I've done hem stitching. If I've even done it at all, I'm honestly not sure if I have ever hem stitched an item. So that's the next step for that project. Um, I did also, in my sorting through, I think I mentioned in my last video that I have a lot of moving boxes from years ago that were never fully unloaded and sorted and things like that. Just again because of life, and I've been sorting through them. It's time. I just have um, a lot of craft supplies, a lot of stuff. I'm a multi-interest crafter. mostly focusing on the textile arts. I do paper crafting as well, scrapbooking, card making, junk journaling, that kind of thing. Um, Anyway, I just decided it was time. I need to touch every item in every box in my house. I need to sort through stuff. I need to purge the things that are no longer of interest, um, that kind of thing, and really start to. Um, I could never be a minimalist, but I really need to start lightening the load of what I have here at home, especially since kids are growing up, they're moving out, life is changing. So anyway, in the process, I did find some more past finishes, and they aren't all exactly my style. However, I am a repurpose, reuse, upcycle kind of a person. I will actually have more about that in probably my next video. Um, and so in the past, as things that I stitched in the 80s and 90s were no longer my style, I would send them off to the thrift store. Somebody else can see what they want to do with them. I needed to clear out space in my mind, in my home, etc. You all know how that is. Um, I found this stash. This is stuff that I had finished stitching, but had never fully finished in any fashion. My plans for these are to turn them into project bags because project bags are useful. And the style of the stitched item doesn't really matter as much to me on a project bag as it would, on the decor I hang in my home. So that's my plan. So I'm just going to show you really quickly. Um, I think most of these, well, no, I know for sure. They either came from a Leisure Arts magazine, a Leisure Arts leaflet, or For the Love of Cross Stitch magazine. I did have a couple issues of, I think, just cross stitch, but I'm pretty sure that none of the things I have here came from any of those. So this is the first one, and it's, the country style swans and whichever Bible verse that is. And I thought about pulling out the verse stitching so I just have the swans to make a little panel for a project bag, but it doesn't really matter to me that much. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Add some fabric around it to make the right size bag, and away we'll go. Well, and I'm probably going to soak it and everything first because I've tried pressing it and I just can't get these wrinkles out. So that does kind of matter to me. The next one was a little Christmas quilt block kind of thing. I don't know if this stain is going to come out or not. I'm going to try. Again, I have a product called Folex that I love. No, it's not sponsored. It's just a product I use. I love it. It works really well. Um, I will try applying some of it, see what I can do to get the spots out of this and turn that also into a project bag. That one might, um, I tat also. Don't remember if I've said that or not. But this little one might turn into a panel for a tatting project bag, which will definitely be on a smaller scale than we normally use for cross stitching. I have some ideas in mind for that. I want to be able to um, I want to be able to store my tatting shuttles, and I have shuttles that have bobbins that snap into them. So I want to be able to store bobbins so that they're not going to be floating around and thread come off and get tangled and that kind of thing. Yes, I've had that happen in bags I've tried to use for my tatting. This one just makes me laugh because any of you from the era know the whole fascination with the country geese for the country style decorating. And this is not something I'm not even sure why I stitched it back then, to be honest, because the geese never really fully grabbed me. Um, I love the colors. It'll make a fine project bag. This one, actually, this goose one, And this Morning Glory one I know came from a Leisure Arts leaflet um, called, I think it was called Just Fingertips 2. And there was a product back in the late 80s, early 90s that was fingertip towels that had the Ada weave in a portion at the end, and you could stitch your design on them and use them for fingertip towels in your bathroom or, you know, hand towels in your kitchen. And they were a grab and go, grab and stitch and go project. Um, so that's that. Those are all of the pasts that I'm going to repurpose and make use of them because I mean I put a lot of effort into stitching those. And they're going to work fine. Like I said, as panels on a project bag, they won't interfere with current decor style or anything like that. And it will be fun to have those pieces that are, you know, things that I stitch. That's part of my stitching heritage or part of my stitching history. Um, so yeah, that's what's going on with those. I do have one here, oh, and I did not look it up. I know it's a free pattern. Hold on really quick. I'm sure I have it right here. Um, yes. Okay. Sorry about that. I should have had this information all ready to go. This is a little freebie from Stone Street Stitchworks. And this fabric is an even weave that I dyed with avocado skins. And it's a nice, soft, pinky brown, brownie pink. Really, really like the way that the color came out in the fabric. I have not tried to dye with that on linen. That is on my list of things to do because I love that. I just love that color. Um, that one I'll probably finish into just a little pillow and pull that out at Valentine's. So those are finishes. Um, Next, my whips. The whips kind of have a story. Um, First one here is Feed Your Soul, which I've done quite a bit of the flowers along the border. I think I mentioned before um, this was my stitch for Taekwondo nights when I take my kids to Taekwondo class. Um, I think I did that. I know I was still doing that through the end of April, maybe for about a week after my last video. And then I couldn't help myself. I was stitching a little bit here and there on Joy by Teresa Kogut. And I think the last time I showed it, I had most of the leaves and branches done here. I think like this flower and maybe these motifs here. It's become my focus stitch. I can't put it down. Um, and it's kind of exciting. It's inadvertently become my Monogamaynia. So I'm going to be stitching on this one through May at least. I have a feeling I'm going to get it finished. I just have the pot, the word joy at the bottom, um, confession, and that I am going to be ripping out these three right here. I know I don't have to tell anybody. They're one block off, and it's going to annoy me to no end. So I know that for myself, I have to take them out and restitch them. Um, Really, really enjoying this. It's a really easy, really pretty pattern. I'm excited to be doing the pot. That is going to be a lot of fun, and then to get down to the words. So hopefully, well, I don't know. I'm going to be doing my next floss tube on, I'm going to give myself 2 weeks. I think I need to make a schedule. If I don't make a schedule, I'm not going to get it done because I work best with a deadline. So if I give myself a deadline, then I think I will function better with my stitching as well as with my Flosstube recording. So hopefully, maybe by the next video, that one will be a finish, and then it will be on to looking for the perfect frame. I'm thinking I want to do it in something white, kind of a vintagey, distressy white, but we'll see what happens. The other whip I'm going to talk about today is Mary Wereat. I'm sorry, I'm not showing any of these patterns. I don't even know. Here we go. For those of you who don't, sorry for the noise, for those of you who don't know what the patterns look like, this is Joy, Shakespeare's Peddler. And then this one is Feed Your Soul. It's by Stitches Through the Years. She is Threads of Years on Etsy. So that's what that stitch is. The other one I have here, I don't know where the pattern went for that. It's a Modern Folk Embroidery. It was my birthday start. And I was really, really excited to stitch this. I think I mentioned last time that I decided to stitch it by the page. And so I got the trees in and I did this border. And I was kind of shocked, actually. It doesn't look like the cover picture. Now, the cover picture of this is of the antique sampler. So this is a reproduction sampler. And you can see the border, it's much lighter in color. And this is the look I wanted. As a matter of fact, the pink here for the flowers was too dark for me. So I chose one that's a little bit lighter. But this thread here, you can see, oh man, my lighting is really bad today. I am so sorry. Give me just a minute. I'm going to pause. I'll be right back. Okay, hopefully this is going to be a little bit better. Lighting is just kind of crazy. My house is at an odd angle directionally. Anyway, I was kind of spoiled in my old house. I had really, really good lighting for everything. And then I moved here and I've struggled with photos, struggled with video, struggled with everything. Anyway, so here is the stitched piece compared to the pattern. And as I said, I wanted it to look more like the pattern. So I put it down, decided I needed to do a thread toss and find something different. So I've done that. I've put a few different options on here, and I think this is the pink. I chose 152 instead of, I think it was 223 is what he called for in the pattern. And then I just kind of went through my stash and pulled out a bunch of neutrals, kind of in the, well, some of these are the called for. I don't remember, like 612 is called for. And I think the 822 is called for. I pulled a few others to have on my ring. And I think what I'm going to do is there we are. I pulled a few others. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch some of the other parts. And then, I mean, obviously I'll rip that dark gold out. And then I'm just going to hold them up, kind of maybe do some test stitches. I think I want to see them right in the design before I decide if that's what I'm going to use or not. I'm not going to take this out and stitch on it anymore, I don't think, until I'm done with Joy. It's going to take a little bit of effort a little more effort than just sitting and pulling out the thread and stitching it. I'm going to be testing colors and trying to decide what I really want to do to hopefully have my finished piece look as much like this as possible. So those are my plans on that. The other plans I have, I talked about last time, I think because I showed the thread that was part of my haul, part of my birthday purchase. So these are threads. They're all general arts, and I am using them to do a chart that is a free download from Sub Rosa, from her blog. It's called, well, I've named it Crows Gather Here when I downloaded the file to my computer. I do not remember if that's what she called it on the blog, but I will link it below. The stitch that she did is just the center portion of what I'm going to be doing. I'm sorry I don't have a picture to show you because obviously it's a free pattern. It was just a chart. There was no like finished project picture that was a part of the download. So I wanted to do it in color. There are pumpkins and crows, and then the words that say crows gather here. So I also charted kind of like a chain link border for the bottom and an acorn border, like an acorn vine border for the top of what I'm doing. And I'm using espresso bean for the words and part of the acorns. I'm going to use wrought iron for the crows, for the crows. I'm doing forest glade for the bottom chain border and the leaves on the pumpkins. Apple cider for acorns, and then pumpkin pie for the pumpkins. I will be posting updates of this once I start it on my Instagram, which is Rainy Ann Stitches. So you can follow progress on that there, and we'll see what I have to show about that in my next video. The fabric that I'm using, oh wow, look, it kind of, sort of, which way? My shirt. Anyway, this is my next dyeing experiment. It's not going to show up. It's pretty close. It's a little, maybe a little bit darker in person than what this is. This is the same piece of 32 count linen that I bought at Hobby Lobby. I'm kind of wishing I would have cut this a little smaller so I had a little more left to experiment with, but I think I have some other fall type pieces that I would stitch on this. I'm calling this color Butternut Squash, just because it kind of looks, you know, with all the butter and everything in it when you're eating squash. Anyway, you know, does the color name need an explanation? I think it's kind of a sentimental thing for me, or I don't know. Anyway, I see it, a name triggers, that's what I go with. So this is the fabric I'm going to be using to stitch Crows Gather Here. And that I will be starting, I think it's going to be like my Saturday stitch or my Sunday stitch or whatever day I'm taking off, as soon as Joy is done. Because that is my Monogamaynia piece. Okay, I do have a couple of other charts that I want to kit up. I didn't pull out a chart design that I wanted to use for my March monthly stitch. I have the 4 ongoing like focus type pieces that are the Feed Your Soul, the Joy, Mary Wereat, and then my Ages Old Upstairs Sewing Room. And those will rotate in and out, you know, as I finish any of them. I don't want to have more than 4. I think I'm going to keep it to 3 actually, and then add in 1 small per month minimum that I will do for the seasonal stitching. And I really want to have one for each month. And when I consider the fact that I kind of picked stitching back up in March, I want to have a pattern that I did from stitch in March, but is for September. So what that means for me is I want to stitch seasonally, but I want to stitch advanced from the season that it would be displayed or used for decorating. That's how I'm wanting to build up my decor, which has dwindled over the years, because as I got rid of pieces that didn't fit my decor style anymore, I was not replacing them. So that's my objective. One piece per month to be able to um, build up my decor again. And if I'm going to be stitching, that may as well be the purpose of my stitching. That's my perspective. So I think I have one for March that would be a September design, or, seasonally fit into a September type decor. I just have to kit that up. And then I have the Crows Gather Here, which is my April stitch for October season. And then for May stitch, which would be for Thanksgiving, like November decor time, I'm not sure what I want to do. I've seen the May berry sal on Instagram, and I kind of want to stitch a berry and be a part of that. I may or may not do that. I have a patriotic style strawberry that I've been wanting to stitch, which would mean, I bop a little bit out of season. But hey, plans are just plans, it's not anything set in stone. So I might do that. If I don't do that, I have a couple of other fall designs that kind of, they work for Thanksgiving too. So those I'm going to be kitting up, make my decisions, and then I can show those in my next video. And we'll see what I decide then. I'm going to turn the page of my notebook now. Wow. Without actually reading my notes, I managed to get through the list, and that's really all I have to show you today. Oh, except for this. I did another project bag for myself, testing a pattern idea, because I do have a handmade business. I'm not giving a lot of details about that right now, just because there's a lot of things that are still in progress that I'm working on. But this is the new project bag that I made for myself. It's from ages old fabric that I have. Yeah, I have a lot of fabric. So I'm using it to test patterns. This is a prototype for some project bags I will plan to be selling, or I do plan to be selling. This is one of the details I've not seen in project bags, and I don't know how you all feel about it, but I don't like having my pattern inside the zipper area where I have all of my supplies. I don't, it's just annoying to me. So I added a pocket to the back, and this is where I have my patterns. My goal is to just have one project per bag. So I did this one up last week. I have to put a closure yet. I think I'm going to make this pocket a little bit taller and maybe put a snap here so that stuff's not shifting around. But it is big enough for an 8.5 by 11. I have not measured to see if it's big enough for A4, but I mean, I don't know if there's anybody in the States that uses A4 size paper. And I don't know at this point if I will be selling and shipping to Europe. That's all the stuff that I'm working on. When I say, process, those are the details. Anyway, so this is my newest bag. I'm pretty happy with it. And I'm not even sure what I'm keeping in that one right now. I think joy. Joy is what I have in it. Because the first project bag I made, the one I showed last time, I did not put the pocket on. I just did it like everybody else does it. And then I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and asked myself, why? Because I already know that I don't like having my patterns inside the bag with my stitching supplies. So that's why I changed this one, and that's how I'm going to be making them for myself going forward. Um, Other news, there's not really a lot going on as far as floss tubes. I'm so behind. I haven't been spending much time watching floss tubes. Um, I think I watched some of Audrey Stitchy, which actually I'm not even sure what her YouTube is. I think she's Stitchy Witch 42 on Instagram. I did watch Sarah Penelope's Pocket. I did catch up on Sean Periwinkle Stitcher, but um, yeah, there's just been so much stuff going on, and I really haven't had the time. I keep telling myself I should make the time, like, a couple hours a day. No, a couple hours a day. Oh, wouldn't that be ideal? Maybe a couple of hours a week. Um, but then I don't think I would get very far that way either because there's so many cool, really neat floss tubers out there and some longer videos. So anyway, I'll just keep plugging away on my stitching. I will keep plugging away on my prototypes for products because I do want to share with you where we're at and what we're doing with those things. And then um, I will catch you all next time. Thanks for joining me. Have a good day.